Hey, hi everybody. We are getting ready. We're setting up our pages. Are you setting up yours? You are listening to music by Calabash. Calabash is a Canadian band playing some beautiful Caribbean jazz with the steel pan as the focal point. And I'm going to be sitting down for a conversation with the amazing Cher Jones. We're getting up. We're getting started. We're getting ourselves situated as you come together. Yeah. Hope your day is going well. I'm going to lower down the music because, talking with music just doesn't always, work well because then you can't really hear all that we have to say. So, welcome to Victory Speaks. It's an inspired conversation series, and I am your host, Nicole Waldron, aka Victory. Why Victory? Because what? Guess what? Nicole means victory of the people. And I'm on a mission to share inspired conversations with all of you. I recognize we have many conversations all the time, some good, some bad, some funny. You name it, we have it. And I recognize that I get such great nuggets from the people that I meet, whether they're friends, relatives, or people that I just come into contact with. And I figured, you know what? It would be selfish if I kept that to myself. And my guest today says what I said, but she says it in a different way. Sharing is caring, but she uses her name because I really believe sharing is caring. My nieces, my niece tells me that all the life. Auntie Nicole, sharing is caring. So before we get started, get comfy, get your glass of water, get your snack, get your favorite water, and I'm going to introduce you to a new friend of mine. I am so stoked. I am so excited to bring her to the Inspired Conversation on Victory Speaks. Every Tuesday, as best as I can, I tune into her on LinkedIn. And if you're not tuning in on LinkedIn on Tuesday to Cher Jones, I don't know what you're doing. You're just wasting your time. Anyways, you'll know why when you get tuned into to Cher. So Cher Jones is a corporate social media trainer and a personal branding coach with the love of technology hardwired into her personality. And you'll see it as you get to, experience a little bit of Cher here. And hopefully after today, you're going to go on to her LinkedIn page and get more acquainted. So Cher is the founder of Socially Active Training. She leverages over 20 years of PR, marketing, and broadcasting experience to help professionals, leaders, and B2B entrepreneurs develop a credible and strategic outline presence while teaching them how to use social media at work for work. Her passion, knowledge, and expertise have many referring to her as one of North America's leading experts in online personal branding for professionals. And we all need it, folks. We all need it. This is one of the reasons why she's here. She has worked internationally with a wide variety of organizations, including Rogers, Hong Kong Police, Focus Stars, BlackBerry, the City of Toronto, the UK Trade and Investment, the Ontario Ministry of Education, and CBC, just to name a few. Come on now, Cher. Cher is also the host, as I mentioned earlier, of the weekly LinkedIn live stream called Just Ask Cher, Cher. I'm making sure I'm spelling it for you, just in case you want to go on, but not now, after we talk to her tonight. She offers tips and advice to help you develop a powerful and professional brand online. So get your emojis out, get your hearts out, start giving her a woo woo. I need a little sound. I think I need a little sound thing. Woo! A little drum roll. A little drum roll, and um, gotta press record. I should have pressed record when I was introducing you. I'm gonna have to do that intro again. That's just so funny. I put the little sign up right in front there. But as you say, it's live. We're doing things, and it's gonna be good. Welcome, Cher.
Well, thank you for having me. It's super excited to be here. I'm already loving just your vibe and your energy. So we're going to have a good time tonight.
Yes. And, many people may think that I feel Cher's like one of these women that you meet on social media, but you don't meet in person, but you feel like you've known her. I feel like when you listen to your live, I feel like, oh my God, I know her. And then like I want to be her best friend. And like, can I come in? Like, yes, you're just so engaging. I just know you just exude life, love, and I can tell you're just so really down to earth. So I'm just stoked. I'm stoked. I'm like a little guru. I'm like a little I'm not creeping you, but I'm just a big fan, Cher. I'm just a big fan. So
You know
how
what
are
it
you
is?
doing
It's one of
today?
those things where I get to do this. And this is such a blessing for me to just be able to do this and serve in this way. And it's really what I've been wired for. And it literally gives me this energy that you feel because that's how God's gifted me. Right. So I'm so humbled and honored just to be able to do this all the time. So what you see is what you get. Love me or leave me alone.
Listen, I can tell because the energy and the vibrancy that you exude on your show it just does it for me, man. And okay, so I'm gonna just check something here before I go deeper and make sure that I am sharing this and streaming this on my own page. Because wouldn't it suck if I wasn't sharing this
Oh,
on
absolutely.
my own personal page? Um, and for some reason, it looks like it's not doing it.
I
But
see
I
that it is because I've shared from your page to mine.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So
Oh, wait.
wait,
Nope.
wait,
It
wait.
looks like it's
Frozen.
no. It's not that it's frozen. It looks like I shared it from
Oh, the other page from my
your
yeah.
page.
And we gotta make sure we're getting this right. But we're gonna talk. I'm gonna do the tech
Absolutely.
stuff. And
Get
yeah,
me
this
talking and you can get to fixing and I'll,
yep.
you know.
So what does victory mean to you, Cher?
Victory it's interesting because I believe over my many years of being alive, victory has changed as far as the definition is concerned. I think as of right now, victory for me means a job well done. And I know that's something that sounds like, oh, that's nothing. I mean, but the things that I'm choosing to do now in my current stage of the game and my level of professionalism and all that stuff and where I'm at in my career is like these are things I choose to do. And so that when I can bring my A game, and that is so important to me because it represents how I serve and just because we're called to serve in such a like
Yeah.
you're supposed to give your all. So for me, when I do a job and it's a job well done where I feel that whether it's the clients I'm working with, whether it's people I'm doing things for, it's like they appreciate me. That's a victory. And I know it's a small victory, but it's a very important
Yeah.
daily victory that builds you up. And eventually you're just victorious because you're happy because it's like all these small wins. And I know I've been kind of speaking in circles, but it's the small victories that are better than the colossal victory because those small victories can sustain you over a longer period of time.
And it's so true because, sometimes we just think of the big things, but it's the little things that along the way that mean the most, that matter the most. And we get stuck looking for the big, and then we miss those moments.
Mm-hmm.
We miss those moments. Like if you were to think of a particular time in your life that you felt victorious, what would that be?
For me, there's been multiple times. It could be as simple as me figuring something out. I'm one of those people who I'm always like, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. And it's just like, whether it's when I first learned to code a website, and it's funny because there's certain things it's like, I never needed to learn how to do that, but I did. And when you make mistakes and you kind of like hack your way through it.
Mm-hmm.
There's that when like the first opportunity that I ever got to do to work on a national television show on air. I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And that was a victory for me because it's something that I always wanted to do. But that was that victory that someone else gave to me. But then creating my show, Just As Share Live. And before that, I used to have a live show a long time ago with my cousin when I first played with live technology called the Lori and Cher Show. The interesting thing was I gave myself my own victory because especially the broadcasting climate in the early 2000s, 2010s, and around there, that time, it wasn't as inclusive or diverse as it is now. And it wasn't welcoming. So what I created for myself is TV on my own terms. And I currently look at the broadcasts that I produce. And I have a lot of people saying like, this is TV quality broadcast for a one woman show. And I'm literally the director, the producer, the talent, the everything, the writer, the researcher. I am everything in one person. And I'm producing something that is competitive with a lot of stuff that we see on TV from a broadcast quality. And that really, to me, is my own victory, because it's like, I did that. You know, through the grace of God, I did that, but it was I did that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's amazing, because you just, even just in that moment of sharing, you just inspired me just another level, because like just starting this on my own, and you're doing everything, and people think, oh, this is so whatever. It's hard work. It's like, they just see the seamless thing happening, but it's a lot of work, doing this, and then balancing, like how are you balancing, because you created this on your own, you're doing this, how are you balancing family?
Well, I'm fortunate enough to have much older sons. So my sons are, again, I was 21 when my ex and I, we had our first son, Kane. And then we got married around 25, had another one around 27. And then, so my kids now are 17 and 25. So it's not, yes.
Born the same year as mine, 1995?
95, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm in prime time from an age perspective, from an experience perspective. I am literally in prime time. And even from a family perspective, I can do these things now. So it's less about balance, but there's always balance. Don't get me wrong, but it's just, it doesn't require the same kind of focus and, and dexterity when you have, small children. So like, that's the thing that I think people need to when don't compare your start to somebody else's middle, right? Because I'm in a position where I actually can, bob and weave and do this. And I've had a lot of family support. My husband and I were still really cool. And so like we co-parent together really well. So, I mean, it's just, I cannot ignore the blessings that have been lined up for me.
Yeah. I like you said husband. That's an interesting term. That's an interesting term.
I heard it one day and I was like, I am going to own that for the rest of my life. She's like, because the woman who said it first was like, because we're great. We get along. He's just no longer my husband. I hate calling him my ex. He's my husband. And I was like, I like that too. Cool. Yeah, it has an endearing tone to it without, being creepy.
It almost sounds good for the kids too, that, that it's, especially if you guys are getting along. That's really cool. You see, your creativity is seeping into everything. So what inspires you, Cher?
What inspires me? Victories inspire me. So, and it's like that effort of doing something, and that, because there's a whole neuroscience effect to owning the small wins, owning the small victories, because they keep you moving forward. So when I win at something, when I figured out, because my show, for example, and I hate to bring it just back to work, but my show, when I figured out the graphics, and no one else has graphics like mine because I built them, I literally put that together, right? So no one else had that, and no one else has been able to duplicate it yet. So that excites me. And that was a victory for me. And so that inspires me to do more. And how do I level up? I love seeing people who are owning their awesome, and then they're playing, like they're slaying in their lane, like they're doing their thing.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to write that down. Own your awesome. Somebody tweet that out there. Own your awesomeness. Okay.
Yeah.
That is the Cherism. Please.
No, it is for sure.
Right. So when you put it out there and you tweet it, make sure you tag Cher in owning your awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I want people to do, because even in the work that I do, and I think that's what inspires me to do the work that I do, is when I can help somebody dig in to who they are and how they contribute, how they were gifted, and how they contribute in their role at work, in their role as an entrepreneur, as a service provider, whatever, subject matter expert, whatever, and help them to own their own awesome and put it out there in a service-based way, so people know how that person can help them. And then when you see that person come alive, it's like they have a Dorothy moment. So Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, it was like, it was in you all along, Dorothy. It was in you all along.
I'm waving, I'm clapping, I'm clapping. Yeah. My sign language clap. Yay, that's how you make me feel. And I hope others get to, they see your energy and your vibe. And I'm gonna tell you now, I'm an emotionalist. I cry at a drop of a hat. Those moments.
Not far behind you.
Yeah. This is like one of those ordained moments that's just making me really happy. And if you guys are now joining, we're getting some hearts, we're getting some loves coming out there. If you're now joining, I'm with the fantabulous Cher Jones. And if you know me, you know what I'm going to say, right? Do you know what I'm going to say? She's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Yep, you know what I'm going to say. That's just reserved for special people, and Cher is one of those. So how did you really get into this field, Cher?
It's interesting because my everything is, it's funny because like you look at all your steps and how they're ordered and stuff like that. I started my career in sports broadcasting. So I went to school for journalism, worked for the Raptors as a pre and post game producer. Wow. Yeah. On the pre and post game show for about 5 years. And this is way back in the like early 90s. So from like 99 to 94.
You're just breaking glasses all the time.
99 to 2004. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I started there. And from there, I had my son Kobe in 2003. I always skip a decade. It's really weird. But anyways, I had my son. And then after I went back, and it was just like, you know what, this is really hard. This nights and weekends thing with an 8-year-old and a baby. I was just, Jason and I just couldn't make it work, right? It was just too hard. So I shifted careers into marketing and copywriting. And that's when I started my first business. It was a copywriting business, a website copywriting business. It was still a little early in the game, like 2000s, when a lot of like small businesses didn't even have websites. And it was something that was like, you need a website and you need copy. And I learned a lot of direct mail copywriting as well, which is a very hard selling copywriting. Mm-hmm. And then I moved into a little bit of facilitation, and I worked with a company where I was their manager of communications. It was a property development company. And then in 2000, the reason why I'm stringing this together, you'll see when it comes in a second. In 2008, there's a real estate market crash in general. So I went, did some more freelance, and then I got a job with the City of Toronto as a senior communicator. And I was responsible for the social development division. And this was a time when Barack Obama just won the elections, leveraging social media, or they attributed a lot of his awareness, his campaigns to social media, his activity. Right. And David Miller, our mayor at the time, he was very active. And one of the things that was happening at the City of Toronto at the time is that they were now starting to explore social media. Mm-hmm. They needed to develop a policy around social media. I've been using social media since before MySpace was cool. So I've been using.
I remember MySpace.
Yes, I used it before it was cool. So we're talking like ICQ, MSN Messenger, all of that stuff I was using. And then the one thing I had a very, my role was very PR heavy, as well as a lot of corporate communications work there. And the interesting thing is they were starting to have conversations around policy. And I told my manager, I need a seat at the table. I need to be in that room. And I also, then word started getting out that, she knows about social media, because everybody at that table, they were senior communicators, but they didn't have any social experience, or they were web people without social media experience. Right. So I got on that team, helped develop the policy. Then I realized that most of the communicators working at the city at that time, and we're talking, in 2009, 2010, did not have social media experience. So I developed the first training program for the City of Toronto for all of their communicators. And there's about 125 of them. And I developed the first social media training program for them. So it was really interesting at the time. And as word started to get out, as you said Cher Jones and you said social media in the same sentence. And so what happened was different divisions were calling me up to ask me to consult on their strategies. I was developing strategies for my own division. And anyways, in 2013, my internal clients were referring me externally to other people as well. So I decided, oh, wow, this is a great time to start a business. Probably a little bit too early, but I stuck it out. So from 2013 till now, I've had socially active training. And through all of those experiences, and this is how it pulls together. So I apologize for anybody you're hanging on.
This story's good.
So what I've learned is that I had broadcasting experience, which is relevant to social media right now, and creation, content creation, video, all that stuff. I had marketing and copywriting experience, which again is relevant now to your positioning and how to position yourself to sell, as well as PR and corporate communications experience, which is also all these different communication disciplines have been basically melted together, merged together to create me owning my awesome in that space. And that's how, there's so many people with a shingle, a social media shingle, or even a personal branding shingle. My first personal branding talk was in 2013. And it was, you can look it up. It's on YouTube somewhere. It's called 99 Problems, but my brand ain't one. And that is my way back then, before this was even a thing. As it is now. So I've been having my shingle for a while, and I have a lot of disciplines that come together, a lot of communications disciplines that make it make sense. Plus I'm very technical. So you can see that, and even I learned how to build a brand in a corporation that has over 37,000 employees. When I left there, if you said social media, you said my name in the same sentence. Wow. So I've just taken, everything that I've used. And that's the exciting part, to create this business, grow it. You iterate to innovate. So you just slowly change and figure it out. And now it's like, in this time, social media has finally been like, oh my gosh, I get it. And we need it at the individual level. And that's where I focus on now.
Were you ever afraid? Like
always.
How did you get past that? Like, I'm just thinking about it going, oh my God. And then when you said, I want a seat at the table, the word courage, like ferocious courage, just jumped out at me. Like, you had to have some.
You know what, for that one, it's funny because my fear pops out in certain ways. And I definitely, and I struggle with fear all the time. To even all now, I struggle with the not good enough. And I have to walk myself through that conversation, because that fear is not from God. So it's like, but as far as being, I felt I deserved a seat at that table. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't a fear thing. I had a very supportive manager. So that was very helpful. And so we all were assigned an entire division. We were responsible for the complete portfolio of that division. Plus we were responsible for all of the strategic plan for the entire, the communications plan. And I'm hearing this happening, and I'm like, who's on this committee? Who's doing it? I'm like, John, who was my manager at the time. I'm like, I need to be at that table. I felt entitled, and I don't know where that came from. I just felt like, no way, how are these people making decisions and they don't know? And I knew it, and I just felt so entitled. But and then I guess you can grow a pair when you already have a supportive manager, and that's always helpful.
It's like you knew what you knew. Yeah. And you gotta know what you know, right. And then move in it. And
I was like, this is why you guys hired me, because one of the things we had to come up with to even be in the application process, we had to present a comms plan based off of a made up scenario. And mine was all social media based, because that's what made sense. And that's one of the reasons why I know they hired me, because he didn't have that talent in the room. And so I was like, nah, I need a seat at that table. And that was before, getting a seat at the table was even a thing to say. I was like, I need to be at the table.
We need some lessons from you, like getting that seat and having that courage and that boldness.
But that's the owning your awesome, when you know your stuff. And so like when I'm working with my clients and I'm helping them pull out what makes them so awesome, and then to see them have that Dorothy moment when they're like, yes, that is you.
Right.
This is how, and then being able to position what they do in a way that makes sense, so that you can distinguish your experience, because there's a ton of people with the exact same title as you. Right. How do you make sure that your experience is qualified into your title.
So if I was sitting down with you right now, Cher, let's just pretend, or whoever's out there.
Yeah.
What would be a question you can ask someone, or you would ask someone who's trying to figure out what their awesome is?
It's interesting because I don't work with people who are trying to discover what it is they want to do.
Okay.
Those are not my ideal clients. Okay. I need to already say, I need to know what you want to accomplish, and then I will work your way back based off of your experience. And so, for example, a client I was working with today, she is a leadership coach in the States. She specializes in working with BIPOC leaders and women in BIPOC, so women, Black, Indigenous people of color. Right. But there are a lot of coaches right now. And so how do you set yourself apart? Yeah. So one of the things that we looked at is she's had over 25 years worth of talent and staffing experience at the executive level. So one of the things that sets her apart is she knows what it takes to get the job. She knows the qualities, right? So what I'm looking at when I'm asking you, I'm digging, I'm constantly asking questions. Right. I'm digging. What is it you're pulling from? What is it you're leaning on? What is it? How do you describe it? Because when I work collaboratively with my clients, I don't write profiles for people, but we collaboratively work together, and I have a full process and I know how long it takes. And it's usually within, give or take a session, but it's like pulling, well, what do you do? How do you help them? And then stripping away the basic language and being very explicit, because there's too many like easy words, like throwaway, like, things like, what is it? Like limiting beliefs. That everybody says limiting beliefs, but what do you mean exactly by that? So I think if I were to nail it down to the thing that I do is, what do you mean exactly when you say that? And
you pull it back. You're pulling it back. And then, so it's sitting inside of you and you're able to get that person to say, this is already in you. You just need to find a way to say it and to do it. Yes. That makes sense. So, and then you have this gift of like now teaching myself, teaching others how to do this on social media. Like, why is it important? Like when I look at it, social media is, this social media game, and you've been in it for a hot minute and a half. Why is that important? Like the whole social media, getting your stuff out there on social media.
Even before, because like basically this health crisis has only amplified the need of this. But even before that, social media has always been a validation tool. The more that we put out there, the more that the information that we put out there, the things that we post, the content we create, it is a credibility tool. It's a visibility tool, because credibility plus visibility equals opportunity. So when you stay top of mind, people will remember you, but you've got to give them something to remember. So they can remember you for being an ass because of the stuff that you're posting online. Yeah. They can remember you for being a nice person. They can remember you for sharing wisdom and expertise. Hopefully it's a mix of, like everything that represents who you are in an authentic way. And it's really getting out there in an authentic way. But ultimately, we always, in a professional setting, especially now, if you don't know the person who is sending you an email, who left you a voicemail, who invited you to a meeting or has invited you to an event, the first thing you're doing is you're looking them up. And in a professional setting, the first thing we do is we look people up on LinkedIn. The problem is most people on LinkedIn are using it every day for business as a validation tool, as a credibility tool. However, the way that we position ourselves typically on LinkedIn until you get strategic is, I know all the things you did to get your job, but I don't know what you did now. I just know your title. Right? So what people need to do is they need to flip it. They need to make sure that when I look you up, I know exactly what you can do for me or the person I'm going to refer you to right now. So what it is, it becomes, instead of an employment-based profile, it becomes a service-centric profile. And what you want is a profile that is designed to make people want to work with or for you, or ultimately refer you.
That's good.
Yes. So
Like,
basically, you're giving people the language to talk about you, and you're giving them the
ooh.
language.
Okay, people, I hope you have your pen and pads, you're writing. You're giving people the language to
Mm-hmm.
talk about you. And then
Mm-hmm.
Cher said, what do you want people to know you as? Like, so it's like when you're setting up your social media, just not, especially if you're doing business. And I don't even think if it's just if you're doing business, like
No.
even personally, because either you're going to be employed, you're going to be working with people. Everything you do on social media is even more accountable now. It really reflects the person that you are.
It's also for sustainability and employment. So I don't just work with
Mm,
entrepreneurs, I work a lot within the corporate space, because now within the corporate space, especially emerging leaders and those in leadership already, in
right.
order for you to sustain and grow within your position,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you want to thrive, people, you need to set the stage. You
Mm-hmm.
need to set this tone so that when people are looking you up and then you end up at that meeting, you end up on the phone call with them,
Right.
or someone's referring you, they're already 2 steps in now. They're already thinking, how can I work with you? How can I use you? These are the things you said you're good at. These are the things you said you do, as opposed to just seeing your title and having no clue what you do. So what you're doing is you're priming the pump. The other thing that you're doing by creating visibility for yourself
Mm-hmm.
and amplifying your credibility is when they're starting to think about, especially right now, as times in this very uncertain time, and this, we have to recognize that your visibility is an asset. You telling people how to say this person needs to be on this team, or let's move them over to this project, and you still sustain your employment if you are working in the corporate space, and as well you become that asset. And then if you are a visible professional within your space at work, people are, you just bring more value, because people don't realize that a socially active professional, you have the opportunity to potentially influence sales,
Mm-hmm.
talent attraction, corporate culture through your content and how you post and how you show up. Because people are like, oh, who's this person working there? So many employers in the past were so afraid to let their employees on social because they think they're going to get poached.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
actually that's a symptom of a different problem. But when you have these awesome employees, these subject matter experts, these leaders, especially these leaders who are positioning themselves as someone you would want to work for,
Yeah.
they now become a strength. Their brand becomes an asset. They become an employee influencer.
I love it. You're breaking down the myths and then you're putting into the atmosphere like what you should
Mm-hmm.
be doing. Like, how did you even figure out LinkedIn? Like, I mean, for those of you who don't know, and I think some people are like, how can Cher work with me personally? Okay, I'm going to burst your bubble a little bit and then I'm going to give you a bright star. So if you want to learn from Cher personally, you got to tune in to Cher Jones in LinkedIn. She does a Tuesday live every Tuesday, 8 p.m.
8 p.m. Yeah.
And unless something happens, last week was just a little caveat. We did
Mm-hmm.
a Thursday, but I was okay. Actually worked for me too. Or if you've missed it, go to her YouTube page. She has an amazing YouTube like library of teachings that she does. But her LinkedIn page also has everything. So go to Cher, Cher, and you see her name in the bio here. Go to it and you will see. So Cher,
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make sure that I caught some of the questions. And Joan Pierre says, what you have a passion for, when you have a passion for something, it's easy to identify it.
For
And
sure.
okay, I'm going to pause on my LinkedIn question. Somebody asked, where do you start when creating a website?
Well, I guess it really starts with your goals. What do you
Right.
need to accomplish through your website? And then also looking at and I think it's the same. Well, I use a communication strategy at the personal brand level, but it's all the same. So you always start with your goals and objectives. And then you start to think about, well, who's the audience who can help you achieve that goal? What's your key messaging?
Right.
I can recommend one book that is so powerful right now. It's called Marketing Made Simple by Donald Miller. And it is a fantastic book that will really help you construct and wireframe your website based off of what's working now. I think they've done an excellent job doing that. And they really get into that service-centric philosophy that I subscribe to as
Right.
well. So,
And because I love what you said there. You need a communication strategy, and all social media is part of that communication strategy. That's important. Your whole wording, your branding, like things need to be, consistent going through. And we can probably jump onto branding, but I'm just curious. How did you become this LinkedIn guru? You're so good. It's just like so seamless. It's like drinking air for you, or drinking water.
Well, I'll be honest, I'm a LinkedIn OG. I've been on LinkedIn since 2004. So it's been a minute since before, when it was just a resume site, right? LinkedIn didn't start getting popping until about 3 years ago, 2.5 to 3 years ago, when they switched their in-mail system. So we know it as the formal stuff that you pay for, but it used to all be an email system. Like you would put a subject line, like just like an email, but you would send it through LinkedIn. When they switched over to it becoming a messenger system, that was the first, I would say, inkling that they are starting to move away from it being a resume site to being a social networking place. And also Microsoft then bought them. And what we've seen since then is they've added video to the platform, because before you could just share links. That was it. And my strategy on LinkedIn was share about 5 links a day. Show up every 2 hours with links, and you schedule them in, you share them out. And then that was a really great 2013 strategy, but not now. And it just evolved. And I've just always, I use every social media platform because I'm always studying what people do and how they do it. But I decided to slay in my lane. LinkedIn is my lane. I love the corporate space. I love working with corporate professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs who serve corporate. So I'm very specific. And the older you get, you're not
you're focused.
No, I used to. Oh yeah, I can teach Pinterest, and I can. Oh yeah, I can do this. I can do that. I can do that. It's like, nah. I will slay in my lane, and it's even more specific because it's the personal brand for business, right? And it's really in that corporate space. Yes, some of my clients, I'm working with them on their Instagram, but that's not where my brand focus. I use Instagram for me. I use it as a communications tool. I use it as a keep in touch tool. I use it as a stay top of mind without always talking about social media tool, right? So, and it's a little bit of behind the scenes, and that's my strategy, just from a capacity perspective. So I also believe I don't think you have to make a lot of content. I only, for the most part, I produce maybe one major piece of content a week, which is my show. And I call this appointment-based content. An appointment-based content strategy. So what I've done over the years, I've trained my audience to look out for me Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on LinkedIn. And they just know, so they come looking for my content. But in order for an appointment-based content strategy to be effective, you better be putting out good content that people, it's like must-see social TV, right? So you got to put it out there. And I did that even before I had a live show. I used to have my videos coming out every Thursday, and they were just short videos. And so that was something for me that works. So what I also prove in this space is that you don't need to be producing a ton of content. It's just, you have to have a strategy behind it, and it has to serve your audience.
I love it. I love how you're focused, and like you've given, like I didn't realize how valuable LinkedIn could be to me until I started seeing your show. Like, I mean, I Emily Mills is the one who kind of first, like I do stuff with Emily and how she does, and so it was Emily talking about you, then Dr. Vibe, and Dr. Vibe is on here. You said hi, and seeing the beauty of LinkedIn, because it was so like structured and so blah, and was kind of intimidating. Sometimes I think it's intimidating, and like what are some, because I know on your podcast, like when I listen on a Tuesday, you've dropped some key gems. What are a couple nuggets or key gems that people just may not even know that they can do on LinkedIn that could just really serve them well?
Okay. So what's really great now with LinkedIn is really trying to evolve into that social network space. So one thing that they've just recently launched is stories. So it's not the same like Instagram stories. It's not on that level yet, but you can, if you are creating, stuff that work within the LinkedIn culture. If you are, because some of my stories, not everything that I share on Instagram and my stories, would I share on LinkedIn, but there are crossover moments where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to share this. I'm not reproducing it. And they have better tricks and graphics on Instagram. So I'll go make it on Instagram, share it there, and then reshare it or upload it again in LinkedIn. So there's stories now. There is, as you know, live video, which is huge. It's still through an application process, so it's a little bit gated in that sense. But there's also regular video. There is, I would say, the best opportunity that most people have is in the DM. So in the direct messaging, being able to send somebody voice notes or video messages or links and all that kind of stuff. I send attachments. So when I'm doing, for example, a webinar or something like that, and I have a cheat sheet or whatever, or if I'm speaking at an event, instead of telling people to go sign up on my website or go anywhere, I always tell them connect with me on LinkedIn. And I will share with you a cheat sheet. So I did a keynote on Saturday. I'm doing one tomorrow. It's the same sort of thing, because you can send people to your website all you want, but you much rather send them to a place, and wherever your socially active place is, mine, again, as you guys know, is LinkedIn. So you send them to Instagram, you send them to LinkedIn, or wherever you are. That's where you want them to connect with you, because that will continue the relationship. Whereas if they go to your website, if they don't need you right now, it's a dead end. Right. There's no connection point.
Right. So you got to know which social media portal works best. And for you, it's LinkedIn. Somebody else, if they're selling products, like if they're selling like baked goods or the hand cream and stuff, because of the pictures and stuff on Instagram, I'm thinking that might be a great place for them.
But Instagram's also a great place for coaches too. Just depending on what, and I think you can, as long as you build your audience, it's just what do you like? Where is the best place to have this conversation? Because I think that a lot of coaches, especially those serving entrepreneurs, specifically in that space, Instagram is phenomenal, as well as Facebook groups. You could get someone to join your group. Which again, you have that relationship piece. So
what I'm seeing a lot of coaches like Danny Stone, I had him on last week. Danny Stone's on Instagram. He does a lot of coaching. And Mario Armstrong is doing a lot of coaching on Instagram. It's just like, it just pulls in a different audience to you.
For sure.
It's quick and it's right there.
And it's funny because Mario, I met him a long time ago at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. So I've known him for quite some time, that we've been playing in that same sort of different spaces, but, and he's always been in the tech space. And so it's really interesting just to see how people have evolved and pivoted in their careers as well. And yes, like, so you see how well, and you shared a recent live broadcast of his, which was phenomenal. And it's all, at the end of the day, it's all about delivering value. When you feel like the person is sharing stuff that you need to know, you tune in and you lean in, right? You want to watch. And this is the beauty of having a global stage, where it takes time to build the audience. But if you're consistent over time, you will have a built-in audience of people who care what you have to say, feel that they're getting value out of it, and feel like they know you.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to ask a question. Deeza, I'm going to come to your question in a hot minute. You said something there, and I was looking like you do your, I know I'm doing my podcast, and I'm not monetizing my podcast yet, because I'm just sharing, because I just love sharing.
Yeah, I haven't monetized mine either.
Yeah, and this is what how do you, why do you give so much when you can just, you have no problem if somebody wanted to sponsor, but you just give so much away for free. Why do you do it? What makes you do that?
Because I believe in the philosophy of, here's the thing. If I can solve your problem within my broadcast, within a 20-minute segment within my broadcast, you're not meant to be my client. If I can solve your problem just like that, you just need to watch this one video and you knew exactly what to do, right? I want to be able to give you ideas. I want to constantly have you associate your experience with me of learning something, of being enlightened, of enjoying learning and wanting to learn more. So this is what I'm sharing with you is an experience each and every time. And then what happens is that I end up in rooms that I am not physically in because people are saying, do you know Cher? We should get Cher, because they've constantly had me in their ears teaching them something. And when the conversation, especially right now, and this is just a wonderful time, I'm literally in prime time as things are happening, especially for 2021, and the way the conversations that are happening right now is because I've been around for a minute and a half. People are now, this is such a welcoming conversation around personal branding, around, and even my repositioning of personal branding, because I believe that you need a credible or professional digital presence, which is how you show up and I know what you do and how you serve, that kind of stuff. And then you build a brand out of that. But most professionals need just that foundation, that professional digital presence. And I have training around that. So when people are starting to have these conversations that we need to figure out what is our strategy for our people, they're bringing me up because they've been seeing me. That credibility plus visibility equals opportunity, right? So you just gotta, I give, and people will give back. I get clients all the time, like my coaching clients, they come to me because and they usually say, I've been watching you for about 1.5 years now. So
it's like almost like you're doing a recorded resume. You don't even know that you're doing a recorded resume because people are watching you and they have to study you. And then certain brands, especially corporate brands, can trust you because they see your consistency. They see what you're delivering. They can check you out. It's one of those things that makes you sit back and sail and go, wait a second, let me pause. Let me make sure that what I'm putting out, that, reevaluating myself or whatever my content is, because you never know who's watching you.
You never know. So for example, great example, just 2 weeks ago, I've been in conversation with the Schulich executive MBA program, and they are bringing me in as a lecturer or a trainer in their programs. And they said to me that when they looked me up, I literally was head above anybody else, the heads and tails above everybody else that they were looking at, because they could actually see proof of what I say I did. Because there's a lot of people out there who are, and not even talking about my industry specifically, but just generally speaking, there's a lot of people who say they do stuff, but then there's no true evidence. There's like one thing here, one thing there. And especially in this space, my work is on display. And I don't create exorbitant amounts of content, but I have been consistent over time. And you also see, the quality, but then you also see, just by having a conversation with me, I'm not a blog post deep, meaning there are a lot of people right now who will, like, they're surface level. So they've read a couple of blog posts and they're calling themselves an expert now. And it is what it is. I'm not, disparaging, but when you talk to me, it's levels deep, because I've been doing this. Plus I tap into all the communications disciplines that I shared earlier on. So it's really this whole 360 view and an experience. And of course, being closer to 50 than I am to 40, like those things, it all is like this prime time for me right now. So
it's a prime season of your life. I was actually talking to somebody today, and she was saying to me, Nicole, you're 51, you're about to hit 52. And so if you were to say your lifespan was 100, you've just done half. So now you're in this new season, this prime season of your life. Your son is grown, and it's like, I never looked at it that way. Prime. And so it's so funny that you're saying this now. The synergy is so amazing. Deeza's asking, I have a LinkedIn profile that is tied to my full-time job. How can I incorporate my side hustle?
So what you need to do is you need to look at what your transferable skills are. So what is it that you do at work that informs, and it could just be qualities, it could just be things that you do. As a result, it informs what you do. And it doesn't have to be anything related, but it could require a certain skill set. It could a mindset, a busyness, whatever it is. That's where you're going to start to bring it over. And the best way to do that is in the about section. So basically what you're going to do is, the first thing you must do is respect the paycheck. So what I mean by that is you need to make sure that your paycheck gets top billing. So when you're writing about how you serve, what you want to say is, by days, I spend most of my days helping, doing this, doing that, helping my team, helping whoever, like whatever your position is at work. So you clearly position that. And then in my spare time, all my vacation days, all this, because you want to, especially when you're trying to position that side hustle, you want to position it ethically. Because I was in a position when I was working for the city, about a year and a half before I decided to go on my own, I was already starting to position that side hustle, but I wanted to make sure that I was absolutely ethical about what I was doing so that people knew. I was probably a little bit extra about it. But so what you do is on your LinkedIn profile, the first half of the about section, you're talking about how you serve at work, the people you help, the things that you're working on. So people have that true understanding. And then you can say, and I take my project management skills into my boutique consulting firm. Right. So that I can help my clients. So what you're doing is just looking how to connect the dots. And I do this on weekends and weekends on, and holidays. I'm working with my clients to help them do this.
Right. I love that. Did that answer? Okay. Deeza's giving thumbs up. Deeza's like, yes, that answered my question. Like, yes. Okay. Joan Pierre says, my dilemma at age 76 is I am known for what I do. She's an event specialist. She's an event guru. I do not intend to retire. How can I get into a different type of visibility in my social media? So most people know Joan. She's an event specialist. But she also does commercials, many people may not know she does commercials, and now she's probably other side hustles she's probably working on. Joan, that's a good question.
I think what you need to do, Joan, is start creating content, behind the scenes content, by integrating, because I wouldn't suggest at this point, like trying to create something new when you have a seasoned audience that you've already brought together. So one of the things that you can do is start to create that behind the scenes content and pepper it in with what you're doing. So you can start to prime your audience for the other stuff that you're doing. And then you can do things, you see what I'm saying? So you start to share that. And then you also ask for their opinion. So that behind the scenes stuff, if like, say, for example, she's, she's auditioning for a role or something like that. So here's what I'm working on, or here's what I'm thinking about wearing, here's my 2 outfits. And it's just something so basic, but yet you get your audience talking. And what you have at the end of the day is something so invaluable, and it's called fascination. So what you're doing is you're fascinating your audience, because you are now bringing them into another side, and it's like you get people to lean in, and that's what you want.
I'm leaning in right now. This is so epic. Dr. Vi says, bring it, Miss Cher. I can't say it in the Dr. Vi. Bring it.
I know.
He's like, bring it, Miss Cher. You know what I liked? I saw on your website. It was just so cool that I'm sure people don't know. And I haven't even, when I saw this, like, okay, how do I do this? I gotta go study what Cher said. The LinkedIn intro video challenge. Come on now. Come on now, tell us, because this was like a bing moment for me. What's this LinkedIn intro video? What is it about? What advice when should you do it? Why should you do it? And by the way, Joan said fantastic. And
perfect,
says this is awesome.
I'm glad. Okay, so the LinkedIn video challenge, the intro video challenge, is basically creating a video to introduce yourself on LinkedIn. Because what you have, when you can connect a profile to an actual person, because we're so used to connecting on profiles and seeing someone's avatar, their profile picture, whatever, but it never brings them to life. But when you can hear somebody truly articulating what it is they do and how they serve in a way that you can actually capture their energy. So like you've talked about my energy, you've talked about, like, you hear me talk about my stuff, it's because I love it, right? So what I've done is I've created just a script, that outline that they can create their own intro. And the cool thing is, it's kind of just like, it is an elevator pitch, but more in an introduction format. So what it is, it just humanizes you. It makes me remember you. And that's really what you want to do, is create something where it introduces you. So ultimately, it's a 2 minute or less, try to keep it around a minute and a half, just describing what it is you do and how you serve. And I give the outline to make it really easy for you to write. And if you go on to, and then what I would suggest you do, because LinkedIn now on their profiles, they offer a featured section. So in that section, basically you can pin about 3 to 4 marquee, and you can include more, but you'd have to scroll through it, 3 to 4 pieces of content, 3. And then you can make one of those your intro. So when somebody is looking you up, again, we look people up, credibility, right? And they see this, it's like, now I can get a little bit more about this person than just the words.
Right. Okay, they are loving this.
Good.
They are loving this, loving what you're sharing with the community. Okay, we got the mature folks on here too tonight.
Love it.
What do I do at age 64, leaving nursing? I would more like to mentor enough with the area I once loved. So Gloria, do you mean like how can you put yourself up? What do you want to do, Gloria? You got to tell us what you want to do.
Here's what I'm thinking Gloria wants to do. She wants to do some consulting and perhaps mentoring young nurses, mentoring nurses who want to maybe build their careers in this area, maybe on a specific skill set. And so Gloria, confirm if that's what you want, and then I'll give you some advice.
So Gloria, you got to give me some thumbs up, or you got to say yes, no, maybe we're in the right vein. She says she's not sure. So
okay, so
give you an idea.
Yes, there's an idea for you, because what you can do is create a support group around nurses, and especially now as they need a safe space, like you being a nurse and understanding that nurses need a safe space where they can vent, where they can probably deal with some interpersonal issues that happen in such high stress areas. Maybe there's a group coaching program that you can create, for example, where as an experienced nurse with over 40 years of experience, whatever the case may be, you go in and you provide a support, you structure support groups for nurses, maybe specific, just nurses around these particular, and be very specific so that you can deliver within scope what it is you're offering, right? So that could be something you could, in the meantime, in order to build that, you can create a special Facebook page, a Facebook group, where you can create the community of support around, maybe there's something very specific that you want to support them around. The more specific, the better, because that allows you to solve that problem better. So again, I'm just riffing off ideas because that's what I do. And I hear what people want, what people can play with.
That's good, because when I hear the Facebook group, it's like you can set up the Facebook group and then it can almost be like a little focus group, because as you start hearing the conversations, you'll start seeing what the need is. And nurses need a lot. And then biopic nurses need a different, an extra set of things. And she's like, yes, you got 2 of these.
Perfect.
You got some thumbs up. So let's go to, I want to go to your Tuesdays.
Yes.
Show. And Cher has this particular formula that she uses. So for anybody who's never seen the podcast on a Tuesday, just tell them about it, and like why. I could tell them why, but I need you to tell them why, because she has this formula. 30 minutes and you're out.
I tried very hard to stay in those 30 minutes. I never quite, I'm usually like 34 to, I'm averaging between 34 and 37 minutes. But what I've developed in my live show, so there's so many different ways to skin a cat, but for me, my live show is very much programmed like a television show. So I have the main lesson. So I teach that right off the top. And after I've done a little bit of intro and bantering with my audience, and then I have something that I'm going to teach. And then the next thing that I do is so that whatever my teachable is, it's the hot topic of the night. And I give usually anywhere between 5 and 7 tips around working around that topic so that people can walk away, they learned something. Right. The next thing I do is more teaching, but in a different way. So I will find every week I'm looking for what I would call a scroll stopper. So that's something that literally stopped my thumb from scrolling. So I'm looking at content specifically. Right. And then what I do within that is I highlight the creator of the content, but I also break down why it stopped my thumb. And from scrolling, so that people can say, how can I apply this to my industry, my expertise? How could I take this idea and make it my own? So that's what I want them to do. And I pull out why it was effective. And then the final major segment that I have within my show is called Tap That App.
Yeah, I love it.
Two P's. And I'm always, because I'm like that techie person. So I'm
Yeah.
always trying out new tech. I'm
Yeah.
always trying out new tools, new everything. And so each week I share a tool that I use, and all stuff that I've tried or used or really excited about. And I just share, where you can get it and what it does for you. And that's those are the main segments of my show. So I follow a segment formula, kind of like Ellen or anything like that, where they have
It's better.
specific
It's betterer.
segments.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's betterer. I'm just saying it's betterer because
Yes.
it's like, um, like because of your show, I'm going to try like even a new portal like Restream to look
Mm-hmm.
at putting the show on Restream and learning that portal. And like last week when you talked about stereo for the radio show, that was cool. Like I shared it with Dr. Vibe, and Dr. Vibe went on right away and started looking at it and signing.
Yeah.
So it's so cool, and I love the fact that because you really, you always end your show with sharing is caring and just act share,
Yes.
and you really do it. Like the people that you share about tend to come on, and people are following each other, and I have learned a lot just like listening to what you say, and then the people.
The
And
community. That's
yeah,
it.
you built a community. You have
Mm.
you have the Cher Jones community.
I do, like, and it's so humbling and awesome because it's like people show up. And then again, it's like going back down to that appointment-based content strategy where it's like you're giving people a place to congregate and hang out and connect. You're feeding them good food while you're there. And it's just overall a great place. And then they get to, because like so much happens in the comments. So many people tell me, oh, I met this person on your show. And it's like, they're not on my show, but they're in the comments and they connected, and business is happening. Opportunities are being traded. Like it's just a phenomenal place to come and just network. And there's true networking happening because the creator, whether it's me or somebody else, and that's what people need to do, especially on platforms like LinkedIn, is look for the creators who deliver great content, but also bring a community underneath them. Because what you're now doing is you're interacting with people who are actually active on the platform.
Yeah, I really love that. So how has the pandemic changed you, changed what you're doing, or enhanced what you're doing?
It's probably enhanced what I'm doing, because what we're seeing now, especially going into 2021, is, well, the adoption of virtual training is now, it's fully adopted, right? Right now, as companies are really dealing with their size issues, they've a lot of training budget this year has been reallocated to work from home infrastructure, that kind of stuff. But the conversations that I'm having right now for 2021 is like, okay, we need, now that we've got our people, this virtual workspace, this digital workspace, it may be modified as things slowly, get better, but it's never going to go back to what it was, right? Digital is here to stay. And the adoption of learning on Zoom and other platforms like that is here to stay. So that allows me to better pitch my training, because oftentimes I would have to deal with logistics. I've had teams where, someone's in California, someone's in Vancouver, someone's in Moncton, and someone's in DC, all on the same team. You know what I mean? Right. So like you've got this multinational team, whereas now, and it's like, well, we were thinking about having a team day and blah, blah, blah. So now this just, that's accelerated that as well. The general awareness of the problem that most people are now realizing that they have is that they're not showing up credibly online, right? They look like they're looking for jobs, and they're not, and they're actually not. They want to show up credibly and have a professional digital presence. And even now, as online events are happening, conferences are happening, we're seeing how you have to connect your LinkedIn profile to these professional events. And again, like, how do you position yourself? How do you take advantage of the opportunities? How can you think?
You stand out? Because like, it's so busy, like it's become busier than before. Like, how do you even set yourself apart?
Right. And it really comes down to, it's not that hard right now because most people have a job seeker profile instead of a professional digital presence, right? So once you start to reframe your profile, but the other thing that you have to start thinking about, and this is what I've integrated into my service offering, is really ensuring that I take into consideration their performance goals in their role, as well as their professional goals. And so that I can teach them. And what I'm doing is I'm teaching them how to use, not only position themselves credibly in their role and aspirationally where they want to be as well. So making sure they're set up for that, but also thinking about what are the things that you do on a daily that social media can help you with. You know, do you need to know, are there people within teams, within industries, partners, people that you need to build trust with, people that you need to connect with, people that you need to sell to, team leaders, senior leaders, whatever is, what do you need to do really well on your job? And are there areas where social media can amplify and accelerate that opportunity? So it's just a really interesting time. And a lot of my coaching this year, I mean, I was really planning early this year, I was planning really on the corporate training. And, you know, I've had some, but I would say the majority of my business this year has been coaching, but it's like, I've got some of my best deals this year for executive coaching and regular coaching. And I just see that continuing just because the need is so great.
I love that. And so I just want to go personal for a second again.
Sure.
When I think about all that you're doing and continue to do, like, how do you stay relevant? Like, what do you do for yourself that keeps you on top of your game? Like, is it a particular books that you're reading? Like, particular places that you're learning?
I mean, I guess I'm just always online. I'm always paying attention to what's happening because it's like, it's my job to know. So there's so many websites that I follow. Plus I also like the wonderful thing is most of the LinkedIn trainers and experts that are on the network, they're phenomenal at what they do as well. Right. And this is the power of personal branding. People who want to work with this person will work with that person. People want to work with whomever, or people want to work with me because they've developed an affinity to me. It doesn't matter. But what we do as a community of practice, especially the ones that, you know, that have been around, they're legit, they know what they're talking about. We share stuff. I shout out other personal branding experts, LinkedIn experts all the time on my show. And so that, I believe that for me as a strategy, not just as a friend, because I appreciate these people in my network, but also if I look at it strategically, although that's secondary for me, is I stay top of mind as a result. And I learn these things because they share this with me.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite? Who would be your favorite author? Or a couple of your favorite authors?
Oh my gosh, I have a few right now. So actually these books that are here, I'm loving. So the book that I recommended, the Marketing Made Simple, he also wrote Building a Story Brand. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Phenomenal. We follow very similar methodologies. So Donald Miller. Another book that I am loving right now, and this, Carlin Purcell actually recommended this.
Okay.
It's called The Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman. Phenomenal book. As far as the, if you are struggling in a certain area that you need to show up and perform better, you need to almost become a different person. You need to then, you can create an alter ego. And what you can do is use this book that gives you the strategy of how. So my alter ego is Black Wonder Woman. So her name is Nubia.
Black Wonder Woman? Okay, Cher. You have to share that.
Yeah, this is my alter ego.
Stop it. I used to dress up. See, my hair is long. Like, I haven't had my hair this long, and people are like going like, Nicole, what's happening to you? Because in 20-some years, I haven't had my hair this long.
Yeah.
So as I was younger, my hair was like your length. And I always thought I was Wonder Woman. And I grew up in Trinidad, and I would put on I had a Wonder Woman costume, man. And I had the headband and the belt, and come on. Okay, you are my sister from another mother.
Right? And look, Wonder Woman over here. I have like, so yeah, one of those things where it's like, you can, for a second, like just center yourself and be like, this is who I need to be in this moment. A lot of athletes do it. You know, you've got Kobe Bryant who's doing Black Mamba. You got like Beyonce, Sasha Fierce. Like they just use, it's a wonderful strategy. And this book really does a good job of explaining that. Like, I mean, I'm constantly, it's funny because my Audible, and my son made fun of me and my bookshelf because I don't have a lot of books anymore, because when I moved, I was like, I only have this bookshelf. This is pretty new, but I have on Audible alone, I have, I think 207 titles on Audible. So I listen to another book that I'm reading is called Deep Work. And it's like, there's just so many things that I'm constantly in Audible, right? I'm reading The Tanning of America. I'm like, there's so many things I'm reading, but
I can't wait for your book to come out, whenever that is.
Yes, it's called And You Are. A step by, so yes, that's the title of the book, And You Are, because that's what people are, when they're Googling you, they're literally asking, and you are, right? So it's a step-by-step guide to branding yourself online, so you never have to answer that question.
You have a date yet when you're going to put it out?
It's going to be for next year for sure. I'm working on it right now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, everybody's going to be really up in there. So what do you do for your own self-care?
It's interesting. I struggle with that sometimes. I mean, I walk a lot. That's something that, especially over the pandemic, I've really had to reevaluate how I take care of myself. And over the last year and a half, I've adopted intermittent fasting as a part of my lifestyle. So it's basically a one rule diet. I eat for 8 hours a day and that's it. And like, it's good enough for me. Yeah. So 16 and 8, but I just make it, so I simplify it. 8 hours a day. That's when I can eat and I'm good. And over the last, let's say just under 2 years, I think I've dropped about 45 pounds ish. And yeah, but it's been slow and steady.
But then you maintain it.
Yes, but I've been maintaining it and it's been slow. And then, so adding in walking, that's been phenomenal. In fact, I went on a nature walk yesterday with some friends it was beautiful and it was cold and I don't like the cold. So me forcing myself to go out, that's a good thing. And then trying to have fun with friends. That's been something that even in this time, like spending time with friends, even if it's just like, you know, 1 or 2 people coming by my place or me hanging out with them or whatever, and even, you know, outdoor dining, you know, you got to make sure you make that time. I also, one of the things, especially in this season, I can definitely say that just my own personal journey as far as like my spiritual journey with God has just been like so tight and just so evolving and it just like God's really been chasing and it's just been phenomenal. So I'm so grateful for that. And I think that for me is self-care as well. Because I realized just my dependence. So and how important it is, but but I think at the same time, because I am in a zone right now where I love what I do, that it brings me so much joy and I really love it. And even when I can use my talents, in fact, I've really loved using my talents for other people where I didn't have to think about work, right? So it was like just being able to do broadcasting stuff for someone else and just like, it had nothing to do with me, but yet I was creating using what I love, but nothing to do with business. It was amazing.
It's funny. You just told my next question. You kind of answered it and you said, you know, you get joy. Cause I was going to ask, you know, what keeps you joyful, but you answered that. That's just like, so you're just like, so cool. So before we go and we wind down, you guys have probably like a few minutes before you can ask your last question. If not, we're going to be out of here soon. What advice, anything, tip, personal, professional, you'd like to share with anyone who's listening live or on the replay? The lady, Cher Jones.
I would say my number one tip is just start. I mean, I if anything that kept me back, and even, you know, the one thing that you want to do is, it's funny because this weekend, I heard this verse and it's just been something that has really struck me in a profound way when it comes to business. It was Jesus said, remember Lot's wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I interpret that as don't look back.
Don't look back.
Stay forward. God can only bless you moving forward. So don't look back. What you didn't do doesn't matter anymore, right? So what you need to do now is just give God something to bless, right? Do the work, and everything comes from him anyway. So just do the work, right? Put in the effort. Be prayerful about it, of course, but like just do the work. Just start. Don't overthink it, because what I've noticed over time is at first, and this is what most entrepreneurs, I would say, if you're in that entrepreneurial space, for anybody who's listening and you're struggling with who your niche should be, if you're struggling, it's because you haven't done enough. Mm-hmm. So do all that you can. Say yes until you know what you're saying no to.
Woo!
So really got to do that. And that was for me. And I remember struggling when I first started my business, how much I struggled with, what is it I'm doing? What am I not doing? What's my niche? Because everybody's like, you need a niche, you need a niche, right? But you can't have a niche until you know what you don't want to do. And the more you figure out, and you won't know that you don't want to do it, or you won't know you love it until you actually do it. So give yourself the chance to do it. Just do it, just learn. And remember that one of the things that, as you are putting this out there, as long as you are committed to making sure it's right, to making sure it's quality, that's all you need to lean back on. Because even if you charge, because when I remember when I first started, I charged a certain amount, but then I didn't feel I delivered, even though I was probably charging too low anyway, and that's a whole other thing. But I didn't deliver in the time frame, in the sense of what the value that I wanted to deliver. Yeah. So I just kept on overcompensating and giving, and then eventually you'll find your way. But you got to do it, and that's the one thing I think I waited too long. I edited too much in my head. And I still struggle with that. And I check myself, because when I look back at stuff that I've written, I'm like, I could have used that.
Yeah. So. A question that came here is, like, in your branding, and logos, there's some schools of thoughts that are out there in terms of how focused should you be on your logo, you have Cher Jones. Should you have Cher Jones with a logo, or should your logo be corporate? Like, how much attention should people be paying to that whole logo stuff?
It depends on how in their business they are. If they're just starting out, honestly, it's just digital ink. You can change it over time as you I think that we spend way too much time, effort, and energy because it becomes a creative distraction that helps us to not start. I think the people who just it's not that important yet, because especially if you haven't really solidified your business yet, especially the service-based providers who are using their names and they're providing a consulting-based service, trust me, it's really not that deep. They're working with you anyway, and it doesn't matter what your logo looks like. Yeah, it's great to have one, don't get me wrong, but don't sweat that. Start consulting. Go earn some money so you can get a better logo in a year.
I love it. I love it. So,
and this is me talking to my younger self, by the way.
I was just going to ask you, like, what are you saying to your younger self? Like, as there's different parts of your younger self. What would you really say to your younger self?
Just start. It's the same advice. I'm literally giving you that advice.
Right.
Just do it.
Hearts are coming up. Yep.
Yeah. And then even with your content, like, one of the things I can say, like, as someone who's always been up and down with my weight and stuff like that, I would let that and a physical appearance get in the way of me producing value. And it has nothing to do with how I look. It has absolutely nothing to do with the look. In fact, people can see angles of me that I can't see in the mirror, but yet they would still trust me because it's what's here. So we pull back from doing video. We pull back from doing all these things where it's like, just go and help the people you're supposed to help, Naman. Like, just do that.
say it again. Just go out and help the people you're supposed to help, Naman.
Right? Come on now. Like, seriously, it just drives me nuts because it's and we get in our heads. Stop doing that. Just go and help.
Yeah. You're getting the hearts. You're getting the hearts. Yeah. We get in our heads. I get in my head all the time. I need to get out of my head. I got two last questions for you.
Sure.
Dr. Vibe is, he always has to come with a good question. What would you like to accomplish before the end of 2020?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think I just want to make sure that I've been working on a few strategic partnerships that are really setting me up for 2021. So just making sure that those are solidified. And also having a real strategy around getting my book done. That would be incredibly important to me as well. And honestly, and then just keeping my pipeline full for coaching opportunities as well. So it's not, my goals have definitely been modified, and I'm grateful the way my business has been moving. And it's just really right now, it's all about the setup. It's a 2021 setup at this point. It's like, how am I, what's going to happen is just keep your head down and do your work.
Okay, this is good. I had a good time, and
I had a great time.
I'm just so grateful that you came on, and I hopefully everybody's learned as much as I have, and I see by the questions they are and by the hearts. If you have anything else you want to know about, you need to go check out Cher. Cher, how can people find out how to reach you and tune in?
Absolutely.
Your awesomeness.
So you can, those of you watching on Facebook, you can connect with me on Facebook. You can also, my prime #1 spot is LinkedIn. So definitely connect with me there as well. And, you can visit my website, but I'd much rather you connect with me live on any of the platforms that you're active on, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn's the #1 spot, of course, or Facebook or Twitter even. I'm there.
Awesome. And is there anything else we should know about these different social media? I guess I didn't really ask that question, but is there anything?
That's like a whole new show.
That's a whole new show. That's like, when I think about it, that's a whole new show. But I think, Cher has some great videos. Check her out. As we say, sharing is caring. Cher, I just want to thank you for coming on so much. I'm really happy that we were able to chat, and I was able to glean from you, and others were able to glean from you, from the comments and just the hearts. I know, and if you're looking at the replay and you have questions, I'll try to come back to the questions. If not, Cher has so much nuggets that you can find out on her page and on her YouTube.
My YouTube channel. Just if you just search hashtag just as Cher. Yeah. All my back episodes, it's all there.
Yeah.
And I share.
Yeah. It's a total gold mine. So people know that I encourage you to be intentional, have an inspired conversation today with someone you love or someone you meet today. And that conversation can even happen with a smile. It can just start with you being able to really stop and listen, because listening is art. So many times we ask people like, hi, how are you? And we walk away and we don't really stop and listen to what they have to say and listen to what they're not saying. We need to get back to having really good conversations and making sure that they're inspiring and meaningful. Inspire a young person today. Inspire a senior in our society today. We're going through some really different times right now. COVID-19 is a virus, but let's change the virus into something that is positive, that can change people for the better. Our conversations should be based in truth, should be based in love. And I leave you with this quote. And this is by my wonderful, amazing sister friend, Emily Mills, of How She Hustles. And if you don't know how she hustles, well, I don't know what you're doing. It's like if you don't know Cher Jones, I don't know what you're doing, who you're listening to. And Emily said, the distinction between you and other people is you. Love your unique self. Love the beauty that is you, no matter your size, your shape, your ethnicity, your whatever it is, embrace the beauty of you. I am Nicole Waldron, and this is Victory Speaks. It's an inspiring conversation. You can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube at Victory Speaks 7. And if you're on Facebook Live, it's Victory Speaks 77 that I'm talking to you from. This has been a great conversation with the amazing, wonderful Cher Jones, who is just slaying it across the social media platforms. And listen, you got to book her. Corporate's got to book her. She's not doing personal coaching, but you got to book her. You got to tell your corporate people, check out Cher Jones. If they don't know about her, now it's time to know her. And you have yourself a great week. To me, it's Momentum Monday. Hopefully, today we built some momentum in you to just start or just continue what you're doing. This is, and remember, victory speaks in purpose, victory speaks in life, victory speaks in love. Victory speaks. Speak victory today and listen to what you're saying to yourself and what you're saying to others. Peace.